Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I say this every week, but this is now week 11, and it blows my mind just the continued participation that we have in this. I started this because I wanted agents to help agents, not because I wanted anything out of it. And I could tell you that I've learned so much from everybody that's spoke so far, and I'm looking forward to learning even more today. I know Lindsay very well. My guest today, by the way, is Lindsay Spears with Remax Incompass. And I know Lindsay very well, but I'm sure there will be something that I learned today that I didn't know about her. And so I think that's what this is for. And for the people that are on here or the people that listen later, this entire thing was created so that you guys can help each other and so that you can learn from each other. And so, Lindsay, I appreciate you being here. I'm excited about today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
Okay. So my first question is always, where are you from?
I am from Trenton, Ohio, born and raised, basically.
Been there your whole life?
I lived in Middletown for a couple of years when I was very, very young and went straight to Edgewood and have been here ever since. My kids go here, so we're in here for the long haul, I think.
That's great. And we're going to talk about that a little bit from the pre-call you and I had talked, but when did you get started in real estate and what made you get started?
So I think it was 2013, 2012, 2013, we started home shopping ourselves. And I kind of got really close to my realtor at the time, even my lender, different things like that. And so I was like, I think I can do this. I like working with people. I like just having conversations and helping. So I'm like, I think this is something that I can do. I had just had my first daughter. And when I got pregnant again, then I went for my classes. It took me a little while after I did my classes to actually go and test, because then I had not one, but two little ones. So I kind of took some time with my second one, and then I went all in for real estate.
And what were you doing before that? I mean, obviously, you were a mother, but were you in the professional sector before joining the real estate world?
So actually I did a complete 180. I worked in childcare for a very long time. I was in childcare for like 11 years. And I think, when I had my own kids, I still love kids, by the way, but I was like, okay, I want to still help, but I'd like to kind of help the adults now. Once I had to come home to my own children.
I don't want to draw the parallel that you're saying that working with adults in real estate is a lot like childcare. That's not what you said, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. So went from childcare into real estate, and have you been with the same brokerage the entire time?
I have. It was when I first got on, actually when I was going through my real estate classes. It was originally Realty first that I was kind of with, and the Parkers and things like that. And then they went to open up Incompass, and then we became Remax Incompass. But yeah, it's still the same company, still the same people.
So you've been through, and I haven't asked this question of any guests so far, but if you started licensing around 2012, then you've been through some different shifts in this market, right?
Yes.
And what has been the biggest thing that you've kind of learned about those shifts, and have you had to recreate yourself?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned throughout the shifts is just consistency and having that consistent service that you're going to offer to people. There's some times where things I feel like come easier than others, and there's times where you kind of have to go out of your comfort level a little bit while still maintaining that consistent level of what you want to offer people, what you have to offer.
Okay. And how long were you have a team now, and some of the people on your team are on this call, but how long were you a solo agent before you decided to build a team?
So I started having a real need. I think it was like 2018, 19. I kind of hit 2 years where I had like the same amount of transactions 2 years in a row. And I felt like I couldn't do anymore. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a coach, I'm a wife. And so I felt like I couldn't continue to expand my business without help, and having somebody who could kind of help, you know, fill in for me or do anything that I can do, you know, and that really helped me. But I think it was, around 2018, 19, somewhere around there.
Okay. And you started with transaction help, or you started with more of a buyer's agent?
So I did kind of touch in just only transaction help, kind of like transaction coordinating. And then, you know, I kind of branched off and was like, you know, I actually, Emily Hatfield, she's on this call, but I started training her in our office, and I watched her. I'm super picky, which I think a lot of us probably are when it's, you know, your brand and your business. But I watched her for about a year, and I watched how she interacted with people. And that's when I was like, you know, I kind of want to be different a little bit than some of the other teams. I wanted at least one person that not only wasn't just a buyer's agent, but she does any and everything that I do. She works with buyers, sellers. She does everything. She's awesome. She's good at everything that I'm not. So
yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm gonna open it up for Amy or Miranda if they want to. We don't typically do this at this point, but I want to open it up just for the sake of conversation. Is you found somebody that you currently worked with from within your existing organization that you thought would mesh well with? Amy or Miranda, when you started to build your teams, was that similar, or did you find people outside that you were really attracted to and said, you know what, that person is going to be a good fit for our team? And I think we could kind of talk about this for a second and just see.
For me personally, our growth happened pretty organically. You know, most of the people on the team I knew in some capacity. So yeah, as far as there wasn't any kind of strategic where I was at that point to where I got to where we are at the team now. It was always very, very organically grown, whereas now it's more of an intentional process on our end.
Okay. And was that more, Amy, just to dig deeper on that for a second, was that more like organically within the real estate brokerages that you were at, or just organically in the people that your sphere brought you in contact with?
Good question. So for me, it was, there's a lot of family orientation too, with a couple of members of the team, director of operations, not blood relation, but there's family relation there. Our marketing person is a past client. And then, so and anybody else was just immersed in my world in some capacity, whether it's, you know, somebody that I knew through, outside sources like Verizon, phone service and stuff like that. So,
okay.
On my end, it was just very organic as far as growth.
Okay. Miranda, I'm not sure if you're where you can talk, but I'd be curious to know the same thing about your team, if it was more organically from within or from the outside.
Mine was kind of from the outside a little bit. So one of my team members is also a past client. I know Amy kind of mentioned that she has a past client on her team, but so one of my team members was a past client, which I seem to see a lot of. If you see some team leads post like this was a past client, we're so happy to have them on board. So I think that's probably a lot of what people see as well, just from kind of working in that relationship with them. But the other folks were, they all actually came from another team, and I knew the admin. And so then she brought over 2 licensed agents with her. So that's how we kind of came. So it was kind of like they all had a prior relationship, and then we just all became a team after that.
Awesome. So Lindsay, the reason I asked that, and I was kind of teeing it up for this reason, I don't want this to be awkward because she's on here, but is it harder to kind of manage your team when they come from within your office? Have you had any struggles in that regard?
As far as Emily goes, I don't think so. I don't really know. I've only had one other like true outside person. And she was actually a past client of mine. She was amazing, but I think that, real estate just wasn't, it ended up not being her thing. So it's kind of like a hard question because I mean, that's all I've really ever known, and Emily, she's been great.
Okay. Lindsay, what would you say is like your niche, your market, your niche, like for you?
So I really, really double down on where I'm from, the community. Obviously it's going to be Edgewood School District. I do a lot and try to maintain, being in the public eye. I want people to know I'm here and that I'm here to help. And I do all kinds of things within my community. So it's definitely Edgewood. That's definitely my niche.
Okay. And I think, just from statistics, you've been the #1 agent in Edgewood for, I think, 4 or 5 years running. How have you been able to maintain that? And what is your perspective on being able to grow it?
So I really, like I said, I just kind of focus on being out in the community. I coach both of my daughters and cheer. I think that helps a little, although, when I'm going to coach, I don't necessarily throw real estate into it, but I think it's just associating, my face and name and different things like that. But I do a lot of giveaways. I've given like tablets to the school and just different things like during COVID to kind of help out. But it's really just ingraining myself, visiting local businesses and doing things like that.
Yeah, it seems to me just from observation that, I mean, you get teachers loans within the school district and you get principals loans, and, the level of involvement in the community seems different. And I know that a lot of the agents that we've talked to have basically said, we'll do anything, anywhere. And I know that that's your mentality as well.
Yeah.
But how have you been able to really double down within the community?
I mean, I think a lot of it is just personal interaction. Like I make an effort to get in front of them, we have a local, even just like a gas station that's like a convenience store. The owner, everybody knows, and that's somebody that I've known since I was a kid. And so I'll do giveaways with them. Or like I said, like Lori Harrison, she's one of the principals at the school. She's an amazing person. She's been a great friend to me. And I think once you build those relationships, then they're going to continue to pass, your name down, if you do right by them. So.
Yeah. And you said this a minute ago. I want to go back to it. You said that you're not always in this stuff because, touting the fact that you're a real estate agent. I loved 2 weeks ago when Scott Ferguson was talking about his events, and he said, we don't send out our event flyers saying that we're real estate agents. We don't have like the coffee giveaway or the Kona ice giveaway saying like your friends in real estate. He said his whole thing was about just building relationships with the people in line, making sure that they know Scott and Jill. And Absolutely. He said they get enough other pieces of advertisement from us that say that we're real estate agents.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. I utilize, like even when I coach, like I said, I've had parents come up to me and they're like, oh, well, you should do this, this would help your real estate. And I'm like, no, I'm here for the girls. And I think it's allowed a lot of people to kind of, because social media, it's for me, that's always been my biggest the biggest way I've grown my business is social media. A lot of just free marketing, getting stuff out there. So a lot of people see that. And then, I always kind of stop it when it comes to things that aren't real estate related, because I don't want people to think I'm just this like real estate robot and I don't have a, personality. So I think it's important for people to get to know you on a personal level.
That's great. That's great. And so within the community, Trenton, Edgewood area is somewhat limited in their footprint. What growth strategy do you have within that community? How do you how have you decided to take on more and try to capture more of the market share?
So we do a lot of pop buys and different things like that, where, you know, we'll pick a month. We do a lot of just like door to door. I mean, it's a lot of legwork, but that has helped tremendously. Just like that random, you know, here you go, here's this, and just having that interaction with people, that's helped. As far as like continuing to grow, I think no matter what community you're in, there's always room to grow. But it's just doubling down in different areas. So like you have different communities within Edgewood, and finding ways to reach out to those communities is what we've been working on.
Have you experimented some with being able to market yourself and use your reach and your network within like the neighboring communities? And if so, what's your strategy been for that?
Yeah, a little bit. So I've done some marketing. I did like the Kroger shopping carts. That has honestly, you know, I can't say that I've really received business per se from that, but I have received a lot of attention from that. A lot of face recognition. I mean, that's just branding is what that is. But I think it's kind of taken me a little bit out of that like Edgewood realm, because, you know, I still have my Edgewood people who are like my, you know, my fans per se, and they're posting it on Facebook, like, oh, shop with Lindsay Spears today or whatever. So I think that's really helped a lot. That I was kind of iffy on whether or not I wanted to do it, but I have liked that. I've been pretty impressed with it.
Okay, great. What do you feel like is one of your biggest, you know, strengths in being a real estate agent and a team leader?
So I think probably one of my biggest strengths is just it's honesty. You know, I am very much so when I'm working for somebody, there is nothing that's going to stand in that way. Like I'm working for them, not for me, you know? And I think that kind of shines through with a lot of people. You know, my mentality isn't, I'm going to get them to the closing table, right? It's, I'm going to help them buy or sell and do what they really want and need to do. Even if that means, hey, you know, we gotta get you out of this contract, or you know, you have to work for the people, be honest.
So do you feel like because that's your strength that you're more involved in the transaction sometimes than you would like to be, or?
That was a big challenge for me. You know, especially when I was trying to grow a team, is trying to let go of some of that, and let my team kind of handle that. But, you know, there have been times where I've been a little bit more involved, but honestly, like, I don't think that there's ever a time or ever a transaction where I shouldn't have touches, or, you know, I mean, I feel like I always need to touch something, whether or not I'm working the whole transaction. My team's got it, but I do like to have at least a piece of it, you know?
Okay. And so within the team role, you mentioned, you know, Emily's on there now and you had another team member at one point. How did you delegate the roles and responsibilities within the team and still be that person that still was so much involved in the transaction with the client? Was that a difficult balance, or did you just pull yourself out of certain things?
So it was in the beginning, because I didn't want to let go. Like I was still working the whole thing, and I was getting follow-ups from my team members, you know, what's going on here and what are we doing with this? And then once I learned, like, okay, back away. And then once they're through inspections, right, then just touch base with the client and say, hey, you know, I'm glad you got through this, moving on to the next thing. So that really helped me to be able to free up to what I'm good at, which is kind of bringing people in to our team.
Okay, great. And I talked about this a little bit. I think you were on there when I had Tyler Mingus on there, or on here, but do you feel like the role of the real estate agent is a little bit different because of the area of town that you work with, within Trenton versus Hyde Park or something like that? You know, is there something unique to a skill set when working with a specific community?
You know, I think that yes, it could be community, but it also is just people. You know, you have to be able to relate to all different types of people. You know, you have some of the clients where you can be super laid back, and then you have other ones when you're just all professional. I think to me, it's more the people than the area. You know, as long as you can relate to the people and you can provide whatever service they're needing, I don't think that area matters as much. I think it's really just relating to the people.
That's good. That's good. This market continues to shift on us. I mean, we talked 3, 4, 5 weeks ago where it seemed like it was a lot more of a buyer's market. And then based on the activity over the last, 7 to 10 days, I'm starting to feel like it's more of a seller's market again. And so how are you evolving as we speak with the way that the market kind of changes?
Well, that's tough. I think, I tell Emily daily just to buckle up is basically kind of what we do. But, there's been some things that we have changed, like, even 3 and 4 months ago, we were listing houses and we would say, okay, here's the top of the market, right? And you could list there and sometimes a little bit over, and then you would get all these crazy offers. Well, then things kind of stopped, for a minute. And then you're like, okay, well, instead of listing at the top of the market, let's do the median, right? And so it's just a constant, just revolving door, and you just have to just really pay attention and react the way you need to at that time. I mean, it's been crazy. It's been picking up, I think, a little bit now. And yes, I have seen more buyers kind of coming out of the woodwork and different things like that. But I've also seen some homes sitting on the market a lot longer than what you're used to seeing too. And I don't know if part of that's like where we're still using the same strategy as listing them super high. I don't really know, but it's definitely just trying to still keep that consistent. What do we got to do?
Yeah. And I think that early adapter, late adapter type strategy, the real estate market is no different than any other market. You're going to have people that start to see the shift and they start to price it differently. And
yes,
that was another thing. Again, I'm speaking about previous conversations. And I loved what Tyler said in his mastermind about not chasing the market and kind of setting your clients up on the front end to be in a good spot to where they're going to get offers and maybe they get offers above list,
yes,
which is obviously everybody wants. So I think that your numbers pretty well. And if I had to say that, like from what I know, I feel like you get a lot of repeat clients from on both sides. You get a lot of move up clients and you got a lot of, downsizing clients. What specific strategies do you use within your past clients to nurture them?
Just constant touches. I mean, we follow up on birthdays. Like I said, we do the pop buys. We try to interact on social media. That's a big thing. If they're posting whatever about their life, just being a good human, just interacting with people and friends.
So you mentioned the interaction on social media, and I think this is a good question. Do you take this to, is there a specific thing that you're looking for where it's like, okay, birthdays are obvious, right? Sympathy things like death or medical procedures. Are there certain things that you're just really awesome at in terms of the interaction where, like, do you send baby gifts? Do you, stuff like that? What strategy do you specifically use, or is it anything and everything?
It's just anything and everything. I don't have a specific, okay, well, every time I see this, I need to send this. I almost feel, and I try to be very genuine, so I think like sometimes when I don't know, I just always try not to be like that robotic again. Like I just touch base with people when I see it and when I want to touch base with them. I think I'm a people person, so it's not uncommon for me to send a client that I had 5 years ago a text and say, hey, how are you doing? You know, it doesn't always have to be real estate. I think it's just keeping those relationships, maintaining them constantly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and she's on here, I want to give her some kudos for a second, but you know, one of the things that I heard Amy say multiple times on our call, and I believe that they use this in the term of their business in both the literal and in the figurative term, and that is lifelong friends or forever friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amy, that's what you guys say. And so I think like any of you that have been on here and have a very high repeat transaction, you know, referral business from within your past clients, that's what you do, is you become friends with them. You build the relationship, and then you're going to know when they want to downsize, or when they, you know, it's time to, like, they're expecting and they need a bigger house now, you know, stuff like that. So I think that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay. So my last question, then I'm going to open it up to the group, but my last question is, what piece of advice would you give right now to eyes got big. No, what piece of advice would you have right now for your fellow top producers in this market?
Stay consistent, be kind. You know, I think a lot of it, when it was so crazy busy, is I think a lot of us lost the, hey, how are you? You know, and I think just being kind, submit feedback on that listing that's been on the market for a couple weeks, help that listing agent out, you know. And I think that is a big part of it, because, you know, the people that we work alongside, sometimes, you know, that can make a big difference in how things are going to go for you. And I also think just stay consistent, you know, keep pushing and stay consistent, and whatever your strategy is, just keep doing it. That's good.
It's funny. I was just, you know, I love to learn as well. And I was just listening to a podcast, and the person on the podcast was talking about, in this, we're still in a post-pandemic market, right? And people still love the personal interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And they were saying that one of the most effective things in relationship building is the awkward silence.
Mm-hmm.
Because you stop, and the lady on the podcast said, you'd be surprised at what people will tell you, because silence is awkward. And so, you know, you're in the conversation and you say something and you pause and you just wait. And then they say something, and then that's something that you can build the relationship further on. You know, they may bring up something about a family member that you can draw a connection to, and you just never know where that's going to take you. So I think that's really good. Okay. Amy, Miranda, Paige, any questions for Lindsay?
So where do you want your team to grow? Like what's your vision look like for your team and for your future?
You know, I want to continue to grow. Obviously, right now, I think that what my short-term goal is to really focus on, like, our systems, get some things, because I am like I'm a little bit all over the place all the time, you know. So I want to iron down that, but, you know, my goal would be to have as many team members as I could and be as big as what we could. But, you know, I think in the next couple of years, I'd like to take on at least 2 more team members.
Specific areas of the team that you want to grow?
I think that, you know, we'd go back to probably the transaction coordinating. Emily is like the jack of all trades. I mean, she is like a killer transaction coordinator. She's awesome at buying agent, selling agent. She's better than me, I mean, a lot of the times. So I would like to take some of that off of her and get another transaction coordinator, and maybe just get a buyer's agent is probably where I'm going to go.
Okay. What other questions do we have?
It's stressful being in the hot seat.
I'll throw one out there for the group, and I'm curious to know, you know, all 3 of you are top producers. You're consistently in the, you know, top 100. Do you feel like that top producers changed their strategies in 20 and 21 where they focused more on the listings and had their team members help the buyers. Because, I mean, quite frankly, the real estate agents, you guys were run ragged. I mean, you're looking at 27, 30 properties, you're in multiple offers nonstop. And then the market shifts to what we've experienced in 2022 until maybe today. And it seems like, from my perspective, as a quote outsider, that now top producers are working with buyers again. Am I oblivious to that, or does that seem like that's maybe happened in your business too, or from some of the peers that you've seen? And that's for everybody, Miranda, Amy, and Lindsay all together.
So for me, I've never differentiated anything for my team. They can do help buyers and sellers equally. It's never been, hey, I've got to have all of the listings, especially as we grow, right? Just because I feel like, I have confidence in the agents on my team to be able to perform at a high level, whether it's buyers or sellers. And so 2021 on 2020, it was just a very different kind of market where everybody's just kind of running ragged, right? And just trying to, taking all the low hanging fruit just because it was there and it was easy. And a lot of my team growth happened during that time frame. So now they're experiencing what the real estate market really is, right? And that comes into consistency, just like Lindsay said, and systems and strategy, and actually having to dial in and nurture and do all of that stuff. And I like seeing their growth as a result of that, where they're like, oh my gosh, okay, what you're saying actually makes sense and it works. And we're starting to see the benefit of the nurturing and doing all of that stuff. So for me as a leader on the team, I was never anything where it's, hey, I'm only taking listings. As I mentioned before, mine is repeat referral type business, and every agent on my team can equally do buyers or sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't mean it like that an agent kind of turned their nose up at buyers. I think like what just organically happened is, I mean, you guys were constantly negotiating. And so it was kind of, can I be in a property, opening a door, showing somebody the kitchen, and still negotiating an offer that was submitted at the same time? And so I think there was just, I just think organically it happened. And then you start to see the shift back to the other way. But to Amy's point, maybe it just never changed in some teams. Miranda, I'd love to know your thoughts on that too. Lindsay, what about on your side of things?
Yeah, I agree with Amy. I've never been specific on whether or not I'm going to work with the buyer or seller. I do think that there were times, like where we would set, kind of like our roles. Like Emily may say, hey, like this listing agent's kind of tough, would you want to negotiate this one? So she would go and she would do those showings, and then I would sit back and negotiate. And there were times where maybe, the listing agent wasn't somebody that, would work better with me. So like we would kind of alternate those things. But there was a time, I don't remember, Rob, was it like 2021 or something like that? I noticed in the market, it was almost like a lot of agents were marketing only to listings, obviously, because there was, big lack of inventory and all those things. But we started marketing a lot towards the buyers. And that really, really kind of boosted us up through that miraculously, even though it was a ton of work. You're showing a ton of properties, writing a ton of offers, a lot of fails, but we built a lot of relationships that way and earned a lot of trust.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Any other questions for Lindsay? Awesome. Lindsay, I really appreciate it. I had to twist your arm to do this, just like I had to twist Amy's arm to do it as well. Even though it's Zoom and it's people that you've worked with on a regular basis, it can be intimidating. Miranda's agreed to be a speaker in the future as well. Next week is Lisa Fair. And she didn't have a choice because her daughter and my daughter go to the same school and both play basketball. So she had to see me twice a week, and she just got tired of saying no. So, so Lisa Fair will be on next week, but Lindsay, I appreciate it. Miranda, it looks like you maybe had a technical difficulty in her here. So love your input on some of the stuff.
Hey, yeah, sorry. I was on my phone and it said I was on car mode and it wouldn't let me unmute. So, yeah, so I mean, I agree with what everybody's saying. And that, I mean, I will deal with buyers, I'll deal with sellers. I've been moving away from trying to do clients, period, and kind of only taking on my past clients and people that I want to work with so that I can help move along my team members' careers, if you will, and kind of propelling them to kind of do more. So that's kind of was already on my radar to kind of do. So that's kind of what we did or have been doing through the pandemic. And even now, I mean, I know everyone's saying, hey, like the hustle is done, but I almost feel like now the hustle is more than it was then, because now I feel like I'm having to make 2 and 3 calls to match my 1 that I was getting, seeing results from. So to me, I feel like this year is a little bit more scary or more work than it was the past couple of years. And that like I'm working more, but I'm not seeing as much result because I'm having to really push people off the fence and kind of twist their arm to kind of get them to do anything. So
Right.
I don't know. I think this is more of a grind right now than it has been for a long time.
Yeah, I think the interest rate market kind of caused that somewhat. And now we're starting to see some reprieve from that. I think the job that you all do is incredibly difficult considering the amount of or lack thereof inventory that's out there, but and how quick it moves. But hopefully we're starting to see some reprieve from that. And previous guests have just said, sometimes it takes that 950th call to a buyer and then they're like, oh yeah, let's go buy a house, so but I appreciate it. Lindsay, thank you again. Thank you for everybody that's joined, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.